Good boy.
Love kids.
Right, okay, we are recording now.
Okay,
But,
cool.
just for the tape, it's the 13th today, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Tuesday, 13th of October. I'm with Paula and Adam Heath in their lovely home, just outside of Monmouth. I am Matt Fraser. This is Triangle Radio. Well, that's that bit done now. You sound semi-professional. So, guys, first off, thank you very much for inviting me to your home. Do appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm looking at you all serious there. We've already done this bit. So.
We don't do serious.
Tape holiday, they say.
Yeah.
But, so you guys have been investigating the paranormal for some 10 years now, I believe?
As FPI, we've been investigating for 5 years. I've been working probably about 14 years now in the paranormal. Yeah.
And you?
Under different teams.
And you, Paula?
What was the question?
How long have you been?
Can you edit that?
Yes, don't worry, we can
Sorry.
edit all of this.
What were you thinking about then? You were like, we'll have to,
I was actually adding up how many years you'd been. Yeah, it must be 14. But I thought I was not going to qualify that.
I found some old pictures at Woodchester from about 14 years ago, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a long time.
What's up?
And then how about you, Paula? How long have you been investigating?
Since I met Adam.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And do you both have a lifelong interest in the paranormal?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely, without a doubt. I was always a bit of a freaky kid who went off to the library and went to the supernatural and the occult section and read Aleister Crowley when I was very young and things like that. Really quite serious, heavy stuff, you know. And so, yeah, I've always had an interest in the paranormal and monsters and vampires and ghosts and things like that.
Is there anything you can think of that first sparked your interest, or was it just...
I used to see a lot of stuff when I was a kid, like you, we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
When I was a little boy, I used to run into my mum and dad's bedroom and say, Mum, the lady's in our bedroom with me and my brother, and she's been watching us in our bedroom again. And my mum would sort of try and calm me down and say, don't worry, sweetheart, that was just me looking in on you. And I used to say to her, yeah, but Mum, you don't walk through walls. So I used to see loads of stuff as a kid, and used to sort of creep up at late and watch horror movies with the sound down and things like that.
Yeah.
Just always had a fascination with it, and it many years later, and I got into the paranormal and starting paranormal events with a local medium and setting up stuff for her. And then Paula walked in. I had a shop in Cinderford selling sort of esoteric stuff, and Paula bounced into my shop one day and
well, my story, because
can you sell my vampire books, wasn't it? And
because I've had quite a few paranormal experiences through my life. And I grew up in a weird house in Drybrook as well, with just an eerie sense that I don't know, and it was quite a negative thing as well, so I don't know, it made me more sensitive, I suppose, to atmospheres. So I experienced a few things through my 20s and 30s. And of course I started writing vampires in 1997 when I was 27, because I've always had that sort of belief then, of the invisible worlds around us. So that's where I sort of wrote 3 books, and life went on, and then I walked into Adam's shop, his gothic shop, and asked if he'd stock my vampires. And we talked for an hour solid about ghosts, vampires, and everything in between.
So
and that was it.
Yeah, the rest that kind of catapulted. That was the catalyst, so to speak. We started going off to all sorts of different places. The flat I was living in, which Paul moved into in about a week of meeting me.
I moved into the bathroom.
She moved into the bathroom very quickly.
My
She's a quick worker, but the flat we used to live in was really strange. So many, it was maybe 250 years old. I don't think anyone had ever lived there. It used to be warehouses, right in the middle of Colford. And this is how it started, really, wasn't it? FPI. I was already doing stuff. I knew a lot about the paranormal anyway, and I had a lot of equipment, because that's my side, the technical side of it. And we would just used to have, you'd hear footsteps at night going through the living room while you were in the bedroom. Usually when our daughters stayed over. It's weird, we both had teenage daughters at the time. And whenever they stayed over, they both had strange experiences where the doors would open on their own. They both felt someone was watching them. It was just strange. So we started setting up some equipment.
Yeah.
Just, you know, some digital voice recorders. We had one night where the TV would just switch itself on and off randomly. We had stuff moving around. Yeah. So we set up what's called a ghost box, which is just, it's a radio that's been hacked to... Basically, it just scans around all the frequencies. Yeah. Where a normal radio will stop on the strongest frequency, and it'll stop on Radio 1 or whatever it is, or Triangle FM or whatever. Triangle Radio. What these do is just keep scanning round and round. So there's a theory that the spirits can basically jump on one of those frequencies and impress their voice on it. And when I first started using it, I thought this is a load of rubbish. This can't work, surely. So we started to get some good results. And one night I just said, didn't I, there was so much weird stuff going on in the flat that night. I said, let's just set up this ghost box and give it a go.
I mean, that's where the thing is I've written about ghosts and lost souls within my vampire trilogy, and it was always sort of this big romantic heartbreak across the dimensions, sort of, you know, because I am a big romantic, but to actually sort of experience paranormal was different and quite scary because I didn't know. I felt threatened. I wouldn't stay in that flat on my own. I'd experienced things in the past, but got over that. This was new, and it was coming at most nights to knock on our door, so it was getting quite intimidating. And Adam said to me, what about if we communicate with it and find out what's going on? And I'm like, oh, you know, do you know what I mean? It's a bit scary.
One thing I've learned over the years, it's, if I had to say one of the most important things about paranormal investigation, it's about communication. That's first and foremost. You're setting up communication with whatever it is in whatever dimension, and they must be screaming out to talk to us. So you have to give them as many opportunities, as many ways they can talk to us. And the ghost box is a great thing. Like I said, I thought it was rubbish to start with.
And the thing is I thought it was one entity. And once we got the ghost box going and established, you know, there were loads on the other
as soon as
side.
you communicate, start communication.
And talking through this piece of equipment, and I asked some very direct questions and got very specific direct answers straight back. Class A. Yeah. You know, it's absolutely incredible that
it was almost immediate.
I knew I was talking to someone on wherever they are. It was just, and I became a believer instantly because the evidence was there for me. I experienced it. You know?
There's no way. I mean, a lot of people will say, and okay, you've got to, like I say, I think I said to you before, you have to explain what's normal before you say what's paranormal.
Yeah.
And that's all well and good, but when you start getting direct communication through this radio, you could start and say, well, this is just coincidence. It's just a radio voice saying yes at the exact time. But when you start getting specific questions answered, and you start getting your name called out with your surname as well, Adam Heath, Paul Meek, who at the time was Paul Meek before we got married, we were getting our names called out. We were having questions asked back to us and things like that that were very specific to the conversation we were having. And we were like, Christ, this is almost immediate. And I thought, this is amazing communication. And to be fair, we've used it. We use it a lot on our investigations, but we've never had as good communication as we used to have in that flat. Sort of maybe we're talking 10 years ago, maybe not 10 years, 6 years ago, maybe.
And it was almost as though they were trying to establish a spirit team on their side to communicate with someone with some sense on this side and tech, you know, a real tech head as well.
So almost like-minded individuals.
On that side to this side, you know, and we really did. We had one guy, Don, from the flat. We communicated with him. Very strong Scottish accent. And he came onto the ghost box in St. Rebel's Castle.
Yeah, he started out of the flat, didn't he? We met him at the flat.
Which was in Colford. And then also, he met us again in the New Inn in Gloucester.
We started noticing his voice cropping up.
You know, hi, it's Don. You know, that showed us then that Spirit is able to move freely around Gloucestershire as we are. They're not stuck in a haunted flat.
We even thought, is this, like you say, some like-minded spirit helper that comes along? And now, usually we ask out for Don, and you can recognise his voice very clearly, very broad Scottish accent. And he's one of the most powerful communicators we've had on the.
Would you put him in the same kind of league as a spirit guide type of?
We've asked him that, and he was a bit vague, but I do think he will go and get somebody if you know.
It's almost like he's a helper.
Is that, I do feel that. I really do. We've experienced that.
There was.
He's not easily pleased either.
Well, he's Scottish.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. No, he's not.
He said,
we spent so many...
He doesn't suffer fools gladly.
I have Scottish ancestors.
Are you impressed with this? He's like, no, not really.
Not really, no. He's pretty blunt. He's pretty blunt, shall we say.
Impatient.
But in fairness, over the other side, I can't imagine there'd be too many things over this side that would impress him anymore, to be honest with you, once you've crossed over there.
I think as well, there's a... I certainly think the more people are passing over to the other side with more technical abilities, scientific abilities, they're finding a way their side to communicate with us this side as well.
Yeah.
So you can almost ask for some form of spirit scientist from the other side to give you help to communicate, or to make the veil thinner between whatever dimensions we're communicating on. Yeah. And I think it's going to get easier and easier. Some famous character. Edison was a big paranormal investigator. He was. There's apparently this story goes that he was creating almost like a telephone to the other side. He was creating old EVP equipment to talk to spirits on the other side. Edison for quite a while.
Well, there were a number of people back in the day. I could never.
Conan Doyle, that was another one. Yeah, he was another one, wasn't he?
There was a Russian guy, Konstantin Rodiv.
Yes,
Rodiv. Yeah. Tried to make something called the Spiricon.
That's right.
To communicate with the dead.
Yeah.
And he was kind of one of the forerunners, wasn't he?
That's right.
EVP. Going into the, I hesitate to use this word, but the modern age, if you like.
Yeah.
Friedrich Jürgensen, people like that as well. Yeah. They were all around the 1950s, that sort of time, and 60s. It's been going on for years and years.
I think it kind of stands to reason that because we have science, our side, that science shouldn't also exist on the other side. And one thing that does kind of interest me, and you touched on there, dimensions, is whether the afterlife as we know it is in fact just another dimension.
Yes, and going on around us all the time.
That's quantum. That's my belief.
That's it. Quantum physics is almost explaining the paranormal.
Theory, that sort of thing.
Things can be in the same place at the same time. It's just.
I've always been fascinated with the idea of thin places, which is actually a Christian thing, but I can't think of a better name, and that's whereby places where things may overlap, or the veil.
Yes.
I don't like to use that word, it's cliche. But the fabric between the two worlds is kind of worn and it's thin, and that's how you
get the crossover.
This is like the difference between shouting through a curtain and shouting through a wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of an analogy
that's
I can
pretty much how we
use.
feel.
Yeah.
And that's what we have actually experienced. That's more or less what they've been telling us.
Yeah.
You know, that is so my fear went completely then. They can tap on the wall, I'd be like, can you tap twice for this question? For
Paula went from being terrified of staying in my flat alone to being able to sit
on my own and communicate.
in sort of a hanging room somewhere where people have been hanged for hundreds of years and things like that, and just try and get communication.
Because I didn't fear it then. It was just
the paranormal becomes normal. It's weird. You do it for so long, the paranormal almost becomes normal.
And I do feel that in a few hundred years from now, this interview, and you know, it will be normal for them, because I think the veil will get thinner and thinner. We'll find a way, because it's about communication.
Either they will or we will.
One of us will, or a combination of us working together.
If you look at the internet, we are communicating across the globe to each other. We will communicate through the dimensions.
And in a short period of time, we haven't been able to do that. It's only sort of been in the last few decades we've been able to sort of press a button and be able to communicate someone in Australia within seconds.
Absolutely.
And yet now, you know, we're advancing technologically, but we've gone backwards spiritually in a way. But maybe, like I say, with...
it will be with technology that will go forward.
Yeah, technology.
Yeah.
With science...
But that's not to say we're not picking up things telepathically. We might be through dreams, through, you know, we're inspired. As humans, we are naturally creators and destroyers, you know, but we do evolve, and we're evolving at a very fast rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they say the Egyptians were very good at telekinesis, don't they, at one time, and things like that.
Really? They were certainly a very advanced society.
I think a lot of things as well, like I said earlier, I touched on earlier, when we're children, we tend to, because we suspend all this belief and we live in this magical world, kids always pick up on stuff. They're always seeing things. Okay, you can put it down to an overactive imagination. But as we progress it through our lives, so many people tell us that it's all rubbish.
Yeah.
You know, that none of this is real. And you start to believe it. And of course, you can convince your mind of anything.
And then your schedule ends up in some sort of mental asylum if you see too much, so you close down, don't you?
But I think so many people have had some form of paranormal experience.
Yeah.
Most people have a story that they can't explain. Or something's happened when a loved one has passed on around them. Something strange has been going on.
And
around
I think
them.
the word love is quite important there because of the bond.
Yeah,
love is a very strong, you know, it's up there with faith, you know, love is, you know. So to communicate is a lot easier, I think, if you have that.
That's actually a really, really good point, and something that I've always had a problem with the notion of resurrection, because I kind of refuse to believe that the love I have for my family here now and my friends, when I die, would just stop and then to be reborn in another body. And it kind of means that your whole life experience actually meant nothing.
Pointless,
and I refuse to believe that.
No, that's right.
I
have a hard time with that as well.
I do think it does go on. I mean, my grandmother died back in 1988, and I still think of her every day. We're really, really close. And I don't believe that when she died, that was it.
No.
That stops.
You see some people, my dad had a massive energy. Huge. He was just, it's like a thunderstorm coming sometimes, you know. He was...
And he had eyes like a thunderstorm sometimes
he did too. But I can't believe that all that energy just stopped like that. There's no way. That energy had to go somewhere. And as you know, energy can't be destroyed like that. It has to just change to another form. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So... I just can't believe he's there somewhere. And we had so many weird experiences just after he died. My dad, I think I told you the other night, we were talking about my dad and my grandfather were both early pioneers of infrared spirit photography. They would go along to medium sessions, to seances, and they would just look at it from a photographic point of view. They would take photographs. And after my dad died, I found some incredible evidence. I have to show you them, some pictures of manifestations, almost ectoplasmic manifestations that he captured on some old infrared Kodak cameras, and they were incredible. But my dad had such an interest in the paranormal itself, and we chatted about it just before he died, about giving me signs and things like that, and if he could do it.
And
he did. There's no doubt he did. We had some amazing experiences. I mean, like if I tell you the stories, they were just incredible. But I'd lost my faith a little bit in the whole of everything, spirituality, the paranormal, everything. Because it was such a hard time. My brother passed away 5 weeks before that, and I was in a really dark place. And I was ready to throw it all in. But just certain things happened afterwards that pulled me back up to it. Because I know it was my dad. I know my dad was just giving me these... It was more than little signs. It was like a baseball bat around the head, because that's the sort of guy he was. He wouldn't have done anything by half. He wouldn't have done it subtly, you know?
We've had a complete chair move about 4 metres and turn around.
Stuff and turn around and just seeing it.
We're not in front of our eyes, but we went back into the room and it was like, it's absolutely crazy.
We lost the key to his... He had a gun cabinet and a shotgun licence. He had all licences and things like that. And we cleared out his flat while he was in hospital, thinking that maybe he would come back in. He was a real hoarder, absolutely stuffed full. So it took me weeks and weeks and weeks. It took me 3 months to clear this place out. But we were looking for this key because the police had turned up that day looking for his gun. It's only a 2.2 rifle that belonged to my granddad, and we'd cleared everything in this whole flat, and it's like, oh my God, where is it? And we sat down, and literally the police were going to be there in a couple of hours, and they needed this gun. And we'd found what we thought was a gun cabinet, which was in the back of a wardrobe, but I couldn't find a key. I'd found hundreds of keys lying around, but not this one key. And I sat there, Paula, we were eating a pasty, and I said, look, Dad, the police are going to be here in a minute. Where's this bloody key? Just show me where this damn key is. Anyway, sat back down, had a bite to eat, and I looked across, and on the mantelpiece there was a little carriage clock you get like when you retire with those things that spin round. And I looked on the wall, and there was another clock on the wall, and I said, oh, they were out by about 20 minutes. And I said, what's the time, babe? And she told me the time, and I said, oh, the one on the wall is wrong, it's about 20 minutes out. Picked it up off the wall to like that, changed the time, went to put it back on the wall, and there on the hook behind the clock was the key. And I thought...
We never would have found that.
Never would have found it.
Have been right.
No, you wouldn't.
Just weird stuff like that.
You wouldn't think to look at stuff like that.
Yeah. And I truly believe...
you get point
same signs, wasn't he?
point
Yeah.
things out to you, you know. It's
They're probably shouting and screaming at us all the time.
But, and then you get this
Yeah.
subtle whisper in your mind to do something. You think, well, that's just weird.
Yeah.
You know, so,
But that energy has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where it goes.
No.
There has to be something.
We
just
don't know the
got all
answers just because we've experienced so much.
It's like I said, you never know until you go. Someone said the other day.
Well, that's absolutely true.
And that's true, but I'd like to think we will know. I'd like to think, you know, we are scratching beneath the surface. We are pushing the boundaries of our knowledge and what we know about the other dimensions, the paranormal, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I hate things like phrases like ghosts and hauntings and stuff like that. You know, I don't like to think, but that's what it is. Ghost hunters, ghost chasers. That's all crap, really.
We're more into quantum side
we're
dimensions. And
we want to try something different.
I'm really glad you said that because that's the stuff that actually really interests
Yeah.
me.
Absolutely. I've
It's
read
kind of
so
where I
much
come
about
from
quantum.
as
Back
well.
Absolutely.
10 years ago I was reading quantum.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not something I can regurgitate back to someone. But when I'm reading it, I totally get it. You know,
but it's very difficult to get it. You get it. You with quantum, you always get it's a penny drop moment.
Yeah.
It seems really complicated, but then suddenly you just think, no, it's really easy. It's when you put your mind to it, when you actually see what's going on, and you can see everything. Almost go into like a soft focus, and see the big picture. Quantum becomes very simple.
I think you'd enjoy. I've just finished. Well, last July I started my 5th novel, and actually finished writing it this July.
Yeah.
And it's called Invisible Worlds: Awakening.
Yeah.
So now I've started the next novel, which is part 2 of that, and
a lot of it's drawn on your experiences from the paranormal, isn't it?
Yeah, but it is very quantum. And I would call it quantum fiction if I had to give it a shot. I don't know what to call it. I just poured out of me. But it ended up, if I had to analyse it, it's very much that, you know. So, and it's based on the evidence we've collected as FPI and my experiences,
mainly,
and putting it all into fiction, and you know,
mainly St Bradford's Castle, I guess, is one of your biggest.
Oh yeah, the castle.
Yeah.
It is based in a castle actually, but yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about kind of St Brebels and maybe the angel in a bit, but kind of keen to know if you do have any religious beliefs, either of you.
I came in spiritual.
Yeah.
So by the age of 9, I told my mum I'm going to Sunday school.
Yeah.
And she was like, right, okay. So I went and grabbed my neighbour and we used to go to Sunday school. I became confirmed Church of England. Tried reading the Bible, but couldn't quite get into it. It was a bit. I got as far past Genesis, and it got a bit boring. Too many names. But anyway, so but I came in knowing, and I used to pray, and I know that I was heard, and I know, you know, and I've always felt there's something there, you know.
Yeah.
And I've always felt I've been listened to, and it's always been around me, you know. I just don't say who I am. But I did go through, when I started the vampires, I went through a complete and utter chrysalis moment of complete breakdown of moral conscience and what am I writing this for, you know?
Right.
And came back out of the chrysalis completely transformed, is all I can say.
Yeah.
Into spirituality.
Right.
I dropped the fear-based religion and I suddenly saw the whole bigger picture. And I would like to say that it was wonderful, but it was hell. That I went through for that.
Talking of which,
talking of hell. Yeah, so
probably I'm the exact opposite. I was dragged off to Sunday school every week when we were little. My mum, my grandfather on my mother's side was Plymouth Brethren.
Right.
Scriptus, you know, they're totally believe that the Bible is the be all and end all. And my mother was brought up like that. And she was not. My father was actually a minister of the Plymouth Brethren up on a little chapel on Caerphilly Hill.
Yeah.
So my mum was raised like that, and unfortunately, until she saw the light, so to speak, she tried to raise me and my brother like that.
Right.
And we were dragged off to Sunday school every week, dressed up. And even then, I just knew what absolute crap it was. I hated it, and it instilled this pathological hate of religion in me. And as I was growing up, almost
to the point of when I was 15, we've conferred notes. My crucifix on my bedroom wall was up the right way with an luminous Jesus on that cross.
Mine was turned upside down.
And if I'd met him, I would have ran at that point in the opposite direction.
I got into death metal, satanic metal, that sort of thing. I rebelled in every way I could in that way. I read Anton LaVey, Satanic Bible, Crowley, things like that. I was really into the darker side of things, and I still am to some extent. But now that I've matured and come through that, I played in death metal bands and stuff like that. It was just all about Satan, hail Satan. And it was just, then you grow up a bit, and you take some of that darkness with you, I think.
Yeah.
You can't not do it because it penetrates your life so wholly at that stage when you're going through in a very influential part of your life. But you start to realise there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah.
So
it's the yin and the yang.
It is the yin and the yang. You do need the darkness for the light. It's all about balance, and that's what we're like. Yeah. I still love listening to Slayer and Obituary and Morbid Angel, stuff like that. Really dark metal, thrash, satanic stuff. And I still love that part of it. There's definitely something I find some comfort in that. But I've experimented with bits from all sorts of religions. I wouldn't like to say I'm religious. Some people would say I'm an out-and-out Satanist, but I'm not. Certainly on the darker side of things.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to it than that. There's a lot of light there as well.
Absolutely.
I've looked at Buddhism. I've looked at all sorts of things. So maybe glean a little bit from everything, really.
Yeah.
You grow up in a way, don't you?
Pigeonhole yourself.
No, definitely not. But, my grandfather's probably rolling in his grave, to say it at least.
I'm of a similar bent. I was kind of drawn to the dark side when I was young.
There's something
very seductive about it.
Yes, very much so. It
almost seems like an easier way. I mean,
and it's almost like I hate to say it's almost like a crutch.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very violent household. My father was very aggressive. He was a very intelligent man. Fantastic, like I say, had massive energy. He was he walked the fine line between madman and genius, literally. I think a lot of the time, and he was very aggressive with us as kids. And it was a way to feel stronger in myself. It was a crutch. It was somewhere to go where I felt comfortable. It sounds strange. It sounds really strange. A lot of people are scared of that sort of thing. But when you find some solace in it and you find some strength in it, it almost becomes like your friend. It's really weird. You probably know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you mean.
You do. It's
Again,
dark.
This sounds like a terrible cliche, but I've always found comfort in the darkness.
Absolutely. That's it.
Well, not all angels' wings are white.
Absolutely. And the big phrase is, I think, not all who wander are lost.
No.
Yeah, that's definitely what I've always thought.
Yeah, and I think ultimately it doesn't really matter.
I mean,
Mm.
I don't like to think of myself as kind of intrinsically a bad person.
No, I'm not.
I am drawn to the darker side of things, but I'm certainly not somebody who would go out of his way to hurt people.
No.
It's not about that.
There is evil in the world, and that is not it. That is not it. There is evil,
thing.
paedophilia, there is stuff like that. That is pure evil in the world.
Yeah.
We're talking about something totally different. You know yourself exactly what that is.
You're pretty much like me. Piercings, tattoos. I do get, I have in the past, not quite so much anymore, but you do get people judging you on your appearance, perceptions.
Yeah.
But then people get to know you, and then they realise that you actually are a nice guy.
Right,
I would do, I love my family, I love my friends, I would do anything to keep them safe, I would walk through fire and hell itself just to keep them safe.
Yeah.
But I am drawn to the darker side. There is no two ways about it. It doesn't make me a bad person. I'm sure it doesn't make you a bad person.
No.
It's just where we are comfortable in ourselves. That's our equilibrium, and that works for us.
Yeah.
What if it works for you? I'm not going to judge anyone. I never judge anyone. There's no point. And if you want to judge me, fair enough, do it. But maybe you should get to know me.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah. Those without sin and all that sort of.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
But also, while I forget. Do you want to do a quick plug for your books now?
Can do.
Well, of course you can.
Yeah.
Come grab another beer.
So, first off, how many have you written?
I'm on my 6th novel.
Wow, and you started in 97, you said?
Yeah, so I wrote... the Vampire Trilogy is... The main title is Orphans of a Loveless God.
Right. And
then you have the first novel, which is Quest. The second is Request. The third is Requiem. Quest is set in modern day.
Yeah.
There's a lot of twists and turns to it.
Mm-hmm.
it depends on how you want to read it. It's got depth, but you can read it sort of like, it depends how deep the reader goes. It's all in there. So very, very graphic as well. I do write very graphic. And then Request is set 3 years later, and it's all set in the town of Sanctuary, which is in the middle of a forest.
Based in this country, or?
Oh yeah, in the forest, very, very close to home. I am
very
a forest
close
girl.
to home. You're a forest girl, of
I'm a
course,
forest girl. Everything I write will be based in a forest.
Yeah.
Because I am of the forest. I was born at the Dilk.
Yeah.
In the bluebell wood, in the fairy realm. So it's going to be.
I can't say what I call it.
And then I've done a witchy reincarnation love story as well, Happily Never After.
Yeah.
That's a standalone novel. I mean, I could do a sequel to it, but I wouldn't force it,
Yeah.
And I never have. Writing's always come, the stories come to me.
Yeah.
And I feel when I'm writing that I'm almost channeling it, it's like, and I've never had writer's block.
Yeah.
I mean, at the start, I couldn't type fast enough for as much as it was pouring out of me, I literally, and it was, I'd be awake all night.
When she has to write, she has to write.
Oh, I will.
She'll wake up at 2 a.m. and just say, I've got to write something down, and she'll be off, and
you want to see
okay,
for
babe,
hours
and you want to
because
sit for
it's
hours.
pouring out of me, it's literally, and the characters take on, I think with all my books, I've always thought, right, it's going to go this way.
Yeah.
Right? And it never ends up like that. Even down to the scene, the way my strategy I've realised is I tend to sort of like dream the scene, or I could be cleaning and I'm stepping through the scene, and then I think, right, I'm going to sit down and write this and describe what I've just seen or felt or smelt, or how I feel about it, or how that character might feel when this happens. And so I sit down to write, and then it just comes alive, it really, and I hear, the words. It's like, and it's almost like music. Some of it is quite, and
so it's almost like a tactile experience for you then.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is me. It's who I am. If I couldn't write, it would be devastating. I write for me.
Yeah.
I hope I'll have a few readers. But actually, I love writing.
You love writing, don't you?
And I love creating.
I can leave her. I can be at work all day, and she will literally spend the 8 hours solid writing.
And I haven't even looked up.
She'll still be there when I get home from work, and she's
and I
can't
can't see properly anymore. It's like,
But the crazy thing is, even though the books, you first wrote the first vampire books in the 90s, they're really starting to take off now.
Yeah.
All these years later, it's not until we've taken on the marketing and the publishing ourselves that it's really started to take off. And now it's ridiculous. I think we've had like 5,000 downloads in the last 8 weeks of just one of the vampire books.
Yeah. I've had 3 agents in my writing. I had 3 agents, and none of it worked out. And I knew that my work was worthy of publication,
Yeah.
And then Twilight came out, and my daughter came out of the cinema, and she said, I sat through all of that just for them to kiss at the end. And I thought, I was almost horrified, because I thought, my God, they're kissing on the second chapter in mine. I've got so much more.
You don't want to know what they're doing in chapter 6.
I think I might have to pick up a copy.
So anyway, so it sort of kicked me about a bit, and I thought, look, mine is sitting on the wardrobe in manuscript form, collecting dust, and on an old floppy disk I've got. So I got it all back out, and I thought I went and searched for a publisher, and ended up wasting my time again, because you can wait 6 months to even get a reply, and I thought time is of the essence. So I set up and got them out as ebooks back then, in I think it was 2006 or something, and then I got a publisher where I paid a certain amount. It wasn't an awful lot, but it got them out there. And done a book launch, and that's when I met Adam, when I walked into the shop and asked him if he'd stock them locally. So we've done it all that way. But now, in the last year, we've taken it back off the publisher and everything, and we've totally done it differently. And
it's all in our own hands.
Adam, because he's so technical minded, I'm doing the writing, and he's doing the selling. And it's really working.
I know, it's just marketing things right. It's getting it out there. It's getting people to find it. Most
and also going on vampire.
A lot of vampire communities, vampire sites, goth sites, even goth dating sites and things like that. And they are
They love
it.
They're romantics.
They're romantic
goths
people,
are deeply romantic.
Absolutely, some really interesting people.
They feel, emos are emotional people.
Yeah.
They are sensitive. They feel deeply.
And,
that's how I
that
write.
Resonates very well with how Paula writes. Yeah, exactly.
Write deeply. If you're going to be one of my characters, you're going to feel what that character is feeling, and I'll be honest about that character. I won't step outside of their personality, so I can walk into this next novel that I'm writing blind. I don't know what the next chapter is going to be about, but I know it's going to be good because my characters will do that, and they shock me sometimes. So even though I plan ahead a scene, it can change. That's what I was saying at the beginning.
Yeah.
I set out to do this, and it never ends up like that. So
it's a bit like life.
Incredible. Yeah, exactly.
I'm planning for it to be this way, but it didn't turn out that way.
You're creating. I am creating other worlds that my readers are actually starting to find me and enjoy.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now,
and that is the most amazing thing for me.
Now they're finding it. It's amazing. We're getting some great feedback from people. It's like, they started downloading all of the books.
And they love the characters.
And they're loving it. They love the characters, and we get emails from people saying how much they love the characters, how much they love the books.
They wish Sanctuary actually existed because they'd lived there. I was like, wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had one girl, she was 16, she read my first book 3 times because she just kept wanting to meet the one, John, the character in, She said, I love him. I was like, oh God.
And it's very strange. I mean, these characters that Paula has dreamt up in her head, and these people... they relate to them. They see a part of themselves. They resonate with it. Yeah, they connect with it.
With the suffering and the pleasure, and it's all in there.
They're beautiful books. I mean, and it's nice that people are now starting to appreciate them. And it's great. All you ever wanted was people to read them, which is what is happening now. At the end of the day. So.
And do you write under your own name?
Paula Heath. Yeah.
And where can we find your books?
Well, on Amazon.
Yeah.
Just go to either Paula Heath or Orphans of a Loveless God.
There's an author page, isn't there? You've got an author page.
Yeah. Adam has set up all this anyway, haven't you?
There's a website, paulaheath.co.uk.
Yeah.
If you go on amazon.co.uk, if you just type in Paula Heath, there's an author page with all the books.
Yeah. I mean, the first book is free.
Wow.
Yay. Because and the second book and then the third, I mean, it's only a couple of pounds for each one of those as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when we haven't got them in paperback, we haven't got that expense.
You can buy the entire trilogy for £4, less than that, £3.98.
Yeah.
And the first book is free, so I mean, you can try it before you buy any day.
Try before you buy.
It's great. Yeah. And people
we've had
doing
readers from
Australia,
Japan,
all over the world,
Canada.
Japan, Canada, America, a lot of American people.
Yeah. I know.
It's great, and the Americans are very receptive to vampires, to the paranormal as well. They love it. It's fantastic. It's massive.
It's a British culture as well, to a certain degree.
Yeah. The nice thing about the books are it's a British vampire trilogy, and the Americans love that.
I mean, book 3, Requiem, goes back to 1760.
Yeah.
And it is the prequel to what happens in modern day. So it goes back to Thomas Montfort and the master vampire who creates Sanctuary.
He's a highwayman.
And he's a highwayman.
So you've got a vampire highwayman, badass vampire highwayman.
Yeah.
Awesome books,
But he's also got integrity. I mean, he comes across as bad, but when you get to know him, and I didn't want my readers to like him. In the first book, they're not meant to like him. I didn't like him. He was a
By the second book, all the ladies love him.
Right, okay.
But yes, by book 2, yeah. But see, he developed, because I never really gave him the time. He was just this... cameo character, and then when I introduced him into book 2 and he came back to reclaim his sanctuary, his town, then it all sort of gets
all hell breaks loose.
Yeah,
so, good stuff.
Yeah, and who's bad isn't necessarily bad.
Michael Jackson bad.
There's a bit of good and bad in everyone, I think.
I think so. It's like we talked about before, the yin and the yang.
Absolutely.
The light
definitely.
and the dark,
Yeah.
I kind of, to use that analogy, I kind of see the yin and yang symbol, but in some people it's kind of in 3D, if you like.
Yeah.
So, whereas you and I, the black would be at the front,
definitely.
whereas with other people, the white would be more at the forefront,
But as with anything, without balance, there's chaos. You have to have darkness and you have to have light, and there must be some semblance of balance, because if there isn't, you're thrown into chaos, and that's what happens in the world when you see the world as extremists, the world is going off kilter, and And it's the same with good. I mean, you can have just as imbalance of light in the world as you can of darkness. It has to be in perfect balance in order for it to spin with equilibrium. You know? You have to have it both. That's our relationship all around, I think.
It is, yeah.
Well, given what's happening in the Middle East, I'd like to think there is a bit of good going on somewhere to balance out all the terrible things that are happening over there.
Yeah, definitely.
That's like when you hear a bit of Cliff Richard on the radio, you have to balance it out with a bit of Morbid Angel. Readdress the balance.
I don't think you hear much Cliff Richard these days, given his recent...
exactly. There's a bit of darkness in that light.
Yes. I don't know if it's dark, it's just evil.
Peter Pan of Pop and all that.
Exactly.
Never quite bought into all that,
that
bullshit, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
There was always something of the dodge pot about him.
Yeah.
Just like old Jimmy Savile as
Jimmy
well.
Savile, Gary Glitter and all that.
Yeah.
It's terrible, yeah. I mean... when you look back on it and you look back at some of these reruns, the old reruns of it, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
When you see it and you think...
You've seen it in hindsight. So
how?
really,
yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing. So it's 2020, but you look at it and think, how did we not see that then?
Little kiddies bouncing on old Jimmy's knee.
Absolutely.
Well, that was another thing. He'd be there smoking a big cigar when he had these... God knows where the cigar had been before that.
Exactly.
I think that's Bill Clinton.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh my God.
Well, it's a good job we can edit this out.
It is indeed.
Hopefully.
So, I can. Don't worry about that. I said to Adam, what I'll do is I'll put a rough edit together. Yeah. It won't have any jingles or music in or anything. So
okay, that's fine.
And then I'll send it over to you. Dropbox it over or something, and then you can give it a listen.
Yeah.
Definitely. Bear in mind we're only a commercial radio station. Do you have any musical preferences that I could safely play?
Just metal. Just as heavy metal as you can.
Yeah.
As heavy as you can go, really.
Don't Fear the Reaper was a good one.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to think of tracks that I can play during. It's not going to be music heavy. I want it to be more talk heavy, but you've got to have a few tracks to intersperse it. So I'm trying to think of things, and all the people that work and come up with these like Ghostbusters.
Don't Fear the Reaper.
Ghost Town are the specials, but Don't Fear the Reaper's a good one.
Don't Fear the Reaper's a great tune. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I was kind of towards the end of the night at the old disco scene back in the days.
But the only other sort of ghosty one I can think of is Camouflage by Stan Ridgway. I don't know if you remember that from the mid-90s about Vietnam. It's about the Vietnam War and about a soldier who gets trapped in a firefight and this ghostly Marine called Camouflage saves him.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah, they played it on top of the... They did it on top of the pups with like terrible mannequins in the background.
Oh.
It was awful.
Yeah, you'll have to put it on YouTube. I bet
YouTube it. Stan Ridgway Camouflage.
Have a look at that.
But that's the only other ghosty one I can think of, so I'm going to have to actually...
You should put Ghostbusters on it if you want, because that's
well, to be honest...
Black Magic Woman.
I'll probably play Ghostbusters right at the end. You've got to have what we call a sacrificial song, something that if time is running out, it doesn't matter if you fade it out, and Ghostbusters is one of those tunes. No problem. Basically, just play like 2 minutes of it and then fade it out. So,
cool.
That's, So,
better get back to the paranormal, I guess.
We better get back to the paranormal now, I guess. So, your favourite location that you guys have investigated?
Probably.
Not just in the forest, but
I don't say
anywhere.
Probably. My favourite location is without a doubt St Rebel's Castle.
Yeah.
There's more ghost stories with that place than any other place I've investigated.
Yeah.
And it never lets us down. We have done so many investigations there, and you never know what's going to happen. You can have 30 people on an event, and you can never guarantee them that there's going to be something paranormal going on. Thankfully, there is. I know we've got the right energy. I know we've got the right technique.
Yeah.
To become with respect, and we know we can get that communication going.
Yeah.
But you can never guarantee it will. But St Rebel's Castle, every event we've done there has just been fantastic. We've sometimes it's quieter than other nights, but generally it's just you can pretty much guarantee something.
I think they respect us because we're forest paranormal.
Yeah.
And it's
a forest location. There are so many great stories with that place, and the energy. I'm sure. Have you heard of stone tape theory?
Yes.
Where the energy's
I'm
reportedly...
old enough to remember watching it on the TV.
Yeah.
Scared the living daylights out of me.
The theory that the energy can impress itself in the very fabric of a building, stone, especially stone that has silica, like old castles and things like that. There's the story of the guy in York Cathedral who was bashing away at the stone, and perhaps the atmospheric conditions were just right. He hits a stone, a spark comes off, and he has a whole legion of Roman soldiers walk past him, completely oblivious, like a recording, completely oblivious to him, and walking from their knees.
Yeah,
you heard that one? Yeah, because they're walking on the ground.
On the original level.
The original level, yeah. So what's to say that certain atmospheric conditions, if you get it right, certain techniques can, almost like press and play on a recorder, you will see something will play out before you. They're not interactive.
Yeah,
it's a recording.
It's purely a recording.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and that could be scientific, I'm sure. And I'm sure there's a lot of that at St Breville's, because so many things have happened there, and very often, this is why we find haunted places are very dark usually, because it's the dark stuff that shouts the loudest. You know.
Yeah.
I think it's the closest to us. It's the lower vibrational stuff.
Yeah,
the angry stuff.
The angry stuff, the fear.
Yeah, fear.
You know, places of execution, places like that are always very
the baser emotions. There,
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I think they're the closest to us now. When maybe if we ascend to different dimensions, we vibrate on a very high frequency, and that's further away from us. But certainly the very dark stuff, I think, is close to us, and I do think that is why you tend to find old castles, places of execution, places of suffering, places of anger. That's why they're supposedly the most haunted, and I use haunted in a very loose sense of the word.
Yeah.
That's what they are. That's where you find more activity.
I mean, we've walked into houses like new builds before now, and you still get a sense that the atmosphere isn't right. That it's negative, and you can't think, well, this is a 400-year-old building, and
I think a lot of people walk when you're buying a house. You always walk in, and you just know the house you want to buy. You just know, or you know that you don't want to go there. You can literally walk into a building and just go, I don't know why we're going to bother looking around this place, because it's a definite no, and it's not because the bloody green bathroom suite or whatever else. It's, you know, some people can pick up on that energy, definitely. Some people, I think I've said it before, some people are more receptive than others. Some people choose to close down. Some people are completely shut down. They can live or work in, you know, some of the most haunted places around, and yet they don't experience anything because they're completely shut down.
I mean, the thing is now, Adam and I, because we've worked so closely with the other side in our communication, we can be doing, asking out between us, and we can actually sense if something negative comes anywhere near us now.
Yeah.
We can actually, we look at each other and we're like, hang on, the atmosphere's just changed, something's come in. So we'll ask, who else is here? And we're always right. And so that's pretty incredible, really, that our sixth sense is giving us the warning, because it's not all love and light out there, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, I guess,
and I think
when people move on, you essentially say the same character.
Yeah.
So if you're bad in this life, you're going to be bad in the next.
Absolutely.
And vice versa.
You don't just suddenly get a little set of wings and go and play a harp on a cloud. If you're an asshole in this dimension, you're more than likely going to be that on the other side.
Which is why we always use protection. We always use our psychic.
Yeah.
So
whatever it is for Adam.
And also, I think when you're doing paranormal, like I said, communication is a massive part of it.
Yeah.
You've got to realise that people talk. You see these people in other teams or on TV, and they're talking to them condescendingly, just differently. You've got to communicate to them as if I'm talking to you, man.
Yeah.
You know. You've got to realise also that if somebody a complete stranger were to walk into this room now, they may want to talk to Paula rather than you and I. They may want to talk to you. That's why sometimes the person asking the question is very important. The questions are very important. You can ask, and I'm sure they just get so fed up with what is your name?
What year were you born?
What year will you die? Do you know how you died? Do you know you were dead?
Do you know?
Forget that. You know, start asking some more interesting questions. Really throw some stuff out there, and it's usually when you start asking some very poignant questions, as if I would ask you if we got talking together after, like we are now.
Yeah.
That's when you start to get the communication
going back. I mean, I can remember being on the ghost box and asking, if you could do anything, what would it be? And they came back with a cup of tea.
I'd like a cup of tea.
Literally, cup of tea.
What do you miss, wasn't it? What do you miss from here? And they went, I'd like a cup of tea or something like that. And,
I mean, that's on our YouTube footage on the ghost box. If anybody wanted to check that out, it is actually on the ghost box
got
session.
about 50 videos on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I have watched it. I have watched a couple in preparation. And as I said to you, I saw you on Great British Coast when you were I thought that was brilliant.
That was a lot of fun.
Oh, my hair flick moment.
Yeah, Paula had a magical hair flick moment.
Oh my goodness me. Oh no, the director put me on my soapbox and asked me to talk about the witches, because where we were in the New Inn in Paul Merrick,
history of witchcraft.
A lady had been hanged at the hanging tree.
And
who had lived there, and her daughter for witchcraft. So I got on my soapbox and told them everything about,
that was the problem, I think, you got on your soapbox too much.
Healers, the midwives, anything. We were all damned for wanting to help and nurture and go out and find herbs to heal. And we were all damned for that. And I ended up on the editor's floor because I couldn't shut up, I think.
They wanted, they were great guys. They wanted just some good ghost stories. I mean, we approach things differently, you see. This is how the balance between Paula and I are great the same, you see. Paula, I wouldn't say I'm a believer, but I'm a very, very open-minded skeptic. We talked about this like yourself. I utilise a lot of technical equipment to get the answers. I try to get communication through a lot of technical equipment, EMF meters, temperature sensors, digital voice recorders, all of that usual thing, thermal cameras, stuff like that. Whereas Paula will try to get communication through some sort of spiritual psychic sense as well, don't you?
I've had names.
Yeah, without
literally into my third eye, I had the name Elizabeth in gold, and I actually asked, is there an Elizabeth here? And then the equipment, which are K2 meters, the EMF meter, spiked through to red, which is up through 5 or 6 colours for that, which is a big bout.
Massive bang on
and I was like, wow, I came up with that name. I literally saw that name in front of my mind, And I suppose rather than them whisper the name, because I'm a writer, perhaps they do show me in words. And it's not all the time. I'm not saying,
You get quite a lot of physical sensations too, don't you?
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, I've
you feel something in your leg and it'll turn out that the owner of the pub we're in used to have a false leg, and he used to try and... this is the Angel, come onto the Angel Hotel.
Yeah.
Percy Paddock.
Yeah.
We were in the Angel.
We were asking out, and I had this incredible pain, and you can see me on the camera rubbing my leg. I mean, it really hurt.
Yeah.
And I hadn't done anything. I was just sitting there, and it came on suddenly. And then it was...
we asked them, the girls afterwards, didn't we? And there was the landlord, used to be a guy called Percy Paddock, I think it was the 1800s, and he had a false leg.
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, he would take his leg off and threaten the people, just to get out and
but
get
it hadn't
home if they
occurred
wouldn't
to me
leave.
that I was actually experiencing somebody else's pain. They were showing me an affliction that they had.
Yeah.
It never entered my head, And then when I realised that I have that ability, I really was aware of it then. And I've had loads of things since. I mean, I've even in the chapel in St. Breville's Castle, I was asking out, and I felt, because I've had 2 children, and I felt as if I was about 6 months pregnant. There was a baby kicking inside me now, and I actually thought, this is a bizarre question, but I actually asked, is there a pregnant lady here? And then I had the tapping on the knee, and I said, with a toddler. And the Katie was like, yes, and I thought, wow, that is mad, because I could feel the little one almost tapping me.
Yeah.
And and I thought that you can't describe, you have to experience, and it's quite incredible when you do. And I'm still remembering because I'm still shocked.
I think the thing is as well, what we don't realise is a lot of us have this latent psychic ability without knowing it. I think we all do. Okay, there's these mediums out there and clairvoyants, most of them, a lot of them, dare I say, making a lot of money out of it. There's a lot of charlatans out there who cold read you or whatever.
Undoubtedly.
There are, and I've worked with, like I say, 14 years, I've met a lot of mediums and clairvoyants over the time.
Evil.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's preying on people.
And I've seen all of that.
Yeah.
But there are some good mediums out there, and I've seen them. But I think we all have that ability. We all lose it to some extent, where it's beaten out of us, where we're told it's all rubbish. And on our events, we do what's called projection. And what we do is, particularly in a nice old castle like St. Breville's, we'll split we'll get maybe 30 guests, we'll split them down into 15 in one room, 15 on the other side of the castle. Now, the guys in the one room with me, maybe, we communicate through walkie-talkie. We send the other guys off with Paula.
Yeah.
And they'll have papers and pens, and we'll be in front of a TV, and what I'll do is I'll show them 5 pictures. The CIA did this, remote viewing, it's called. And we'll show them 5 pictures, simple pictures like an island with a tree and a sun, maybe something with a shape in it, something with an emotion, and we'll just get Group A, so to speak, with me to project that image to Group B with Paula, who then have a minute to write down any shapes, colours they see, they feel, any emotions, and I'll try and draw it. And we'll do that for 5 images. Then we'll swap over 5 different images and try it again. And out of the 30 people you get, it's surprising, it's amazing how many people actually get quite a lot of it right.
Yeah.
And it shocks them as well, because they all say, we're as psychic as a brick. And it turns out that actually, they know...
They're really are good.
Interesting, yeah.
We had one guy, he had something like 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
Right.
Bang on.
Yeah.
Absolutely bang on. Drew them, got the emotions, everything. He literally drew those pictures. And he admitted, he said, I just have no psychic ability. That's how he started out. And, we call him Psychic Boy now, don't we?
Yeah, because actually, obviously, and it's from Cinderford. But he knows who he is.
Yeah.
So.
But, we try to do things differently. If we do an event, you have to realise you get maybe 30 or 40 people. Some people want to be entertained. Some people are sceptics. Some people
are scared.
Some people are scared. Some people really just terrified. Some people want to see a ghost or a spirit. Yeah. Some people do want to be scared. You have to. It's very difficult. But we pull it off. Usually, most people say they have a great time at our investigations.
Oh yeah.
Because you get to know what people want, and
it's usually active.
Exactly. If they come out on an investigation,
usually just come out and communicate.
If they come out on an investigation with us, we can. We get them as involved as we are.
Yeah.
You know, if you come out on an FPI event, you will be as involved in it as we are.
Yeah.
A lot of people go out there and they're the paranormal investigators. You're the guests. You must watch us. You must watch our medium, which is rubbish. Everyone is a paranormal investigator when we go out. We all have a piece of equipment. We have lots of equipment.
We open up together. So we do all of that.
We work together throughout the evening, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's why we do psychic experiments, because it helps to train that third eye, you know, and put up the antennae, and then we'll go out and explore the castle. So you have got your that awareness level raised, even if people aren't aware they've raised it. They have, because they've put themselves into a state of that type of focus.
A high consciousness in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, or a soft focus, however you want to see it, you know. So.
Yeah, and I think essentially you're putting up a beacon in a way,
right?
Whether it's when we open up. We put up a beacon of energy or light or whatever you want it to be.
I open up the group and I put that energy to the universe. And if there is anything out there that wishes to communicate. So that's not necessarily just in the space you're in. That could be any, you know, and it's been incredible.
Some of it is resident, some of it comes from outside, I think. And either way, we seem to establish some great communication. We get some great results.
Yeah. And
used
it's
on film.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Really, you know, it's addictive.
Yeah.
As well, I can't see us ever giving it up, because it's like they're friends almost. You know.
A lot of the time now we tend to because FPI now is just Paula and myself.
Yeah.
We've had several incarnations through the 5-6 years we've been going.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I've decided I have more fun with just Paula. It's great, you know. We'll go off in the camper for a weekend, just down into West Wales and find some old castle and just camp out, middle of nowhere, and take the dog. Take the dog. And he picks up on stuff, I'm sure.
We've trained him to, though, haven't we? We thought we'd have a little.
But I'm having fun again now. Now that it's just Paula and myself now. We're just finding some great places. I'm rediscovering my love of just getting out there and, you know, sort of the evidence we get. I don't even mind if the cameras are rolling or not these days.
Yeah.
Let's just experience something paranormal. It's become a personal journey again now. I've gone right full circle now.
Yeah.
As much as I love doing events and getting people into the paranormal, and we have got so many people into the paranormal, it's great, who've gone off and formed their own teams, and done their own thing, and good luck to them all around.
All of them. Yeah, absolutely.
But essentially, you come back full circle.
Yeah.
It's all about your personal beliefs, what you believe in your heart, and I'm just starting to enjoy it again. Just me, you, and the dog.
There's certainly enough ghosts to go round.
Yeah.
There's never, you know, if you're of that mind and that energy to, you know.
Do you think that some teams, some investigators get too caught up on looking for hard evidence that they kind of lose sight of what it's actually
of what it's all about,
why they got into it in the first place?
There's a lot of ego within the paranormal community.
I'd say,
a lot of
it is all down to ego.
example, but you're only going to watch things like Ghost Adventures with Zach Baggins.
Oh God, yeah.
Which is why
there's ever a man who loves himself.
I mean, we loved sharing.
And who doesn't have a clue about the paranormal, to be fair, as well.
And he's one of those guys that's very condescending.
Yes,
goes in there,
very much so.
He acts very
My
confrontational.
VPs are better than yours.
Yeah,
and they don't treat the spirit side with any respect. No,
there's no
absolutely
respect.
not.
It's like the analogy you use. If you walked into a club, or you walked into your house, say, you had a party going on, a room full of people, some geezer you don't know walks in, right, who are you?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, my thing would be just to completely ignore him. But like that,
and I'm sure they do.
And I'm pretty sure that does happen.
You must maintain that level of respect that you would with people in this side.
There may be people on the other side who would react to that. But if they would react, are they really the sort of person you're going to want to be interacting with anyway?
Absolutely.
You could look at it in a way. I know some people, and I've done it myself, where you try to provoke a reaction from the other side, and like we said before, you're sometimes dealing with people who are not necessarily that nice on the other side. I had Nass Lane. I had a really bad experience in Nass Lane in Lydney, where I don't know if you've been down there, but Nass House, a beautiful old house.
No, I haven't.
Used to practice there when we were in a band. It was just a freaky old house that would scare the crap out of us then. But we went back years ago, and it was. It's reputed to be haunted by a chap called William Morgan, who in the early 1800s, maybe 1700s, even 1760s, maybe. It's in the Foster Dean Ghost book, basically. William Morgan, he attacked two young ladies who were walking down Ness Lane, returning to the house, and he murdered one of them, basically stole her money, tried to kill the other one, beat her nearly to death. He'd lost some money in a gambling match somewhere in Lydney, a game of cards that night, and he got caught, and he was caught. They woke him up. They found blood on his overalls, and he was hanged for it. He was tried and hanged for it. William Morgan was his name. Not a nice guy, by all means, you know.
But a lot of people since then have seen him.
Yeah, he's been seen hanging in trees.
Over the last few hundred years. So it's his spirit still hanging from this tree. So we went to investigate.
So yeah, we thought we'd go and investigate Nass Lane. We thought we'd give it a go. And nothing was really happening. It was very quiet, and I thought, well, I'll try and antagonise it a bit here. And I was possibly a little disrespectful. It's all on camera, maybe, and I'm calling out, and I say a few things. And
we had him communicating with
K2.
So that was good. And then I
pushed it a little bit, and then I ended up. I can only describe it. It's only happened once in all these years of doing this investigating. It was as if I was being beaten by... There was nothing there. It was as if I was being kicked and beaten.
In your back?
In my back. Kidney punches. Blow after blow after blow. And Paula had the camera. It's all on camera.
So
And I'm doubled over in pain, and I've got this K2 there, and she's going, hold it up. And I'm like, oh, God.
Get off me.
I can't even breathe. Get off me, you know? And the K2 is just flashing red. Crazy red. And I'm just like, let's just get the hell out of here. Let's just go.
Yeah, but then we realised that actually Adam had asked.
I'd asked
show me something.
Yeah, show me something physical.
Show me something physical. So that was a physical...
And it happens. We get the hell out of there. We drive to the nearest pub.
I
pull up my top, and I've literally got red marked bruises down my back. You know, from this beating, and it freaked me out for a while. I really, you know, that sort of thing just really messes with your head.
I mean, we've had our hair pulled, we've been prodded, poked. You know, you can ask, you know, if you want to pull my hair, you can, you know, and stuff like that. But to be beaten up was...
We've been back twice, and it hasn't happened again, so...
And we have communicated with him again since, and he did remember us, which is always amazing that they do remember us. You think, oh, wow, you know?
Going back to what we talked about earlier, the Angel Hotel, that is probably the one venue that we've really extensively investigated. At one time, we were living literally just up the road, and a couple of other guys who were working with us, they lived just round the corner. And we were lucky enough, Ben, who was the owner at the time, we had a great working relationship with him. We'd done some good events there. And I think for a period of about 6 months, we were investigating the Angel Hotel.
Every week.
Every Monday night we would go in. It was when the hotel wasn't open to guests. We would sometimes have the run of the entire hotel to ourselves. Ben would give us the key.
So we did loads of experiments, didn't we?
Yeah, we built up almost like a paranormal profile of the building. Yeah. And we got some of our greatest results because we literally spent so many working hours investigating that some venue.
Amazing EVPs.
Incredible EVPs where we know you have to discount, like I say, what is normal. We were the only people in the building. We were getting, there's some class A EVPs where you hear voices saying yes, and you can hear them answering our questions. Yeah. They're all on our YouTube page, on our website as well. It's worth looking at. We've had stuff thrown around rooms that we've caught on camera as well. A K2 flew off the bed in one of the rooms. This was one of the venues that we did on the Great British Ghost show with Michaela Strachan as well. And afterwards, in fact, that was quite a good one, because after the Great British Ghost, we did the filming there in the day. They were on the second series of Great British Ghost, and we said to Michaela, so how many investigations have you done, Michaela? And she said, well, I've never actually been on a paranormal investigation. And we were like, you've got to come out. You're talking about ghosts? You need to come out with us. Yes. So we talked with the landlord, and he kind of... and then we talked with Michaela and Bruce and some of the camera guys.
Actually.
They were well up for it. We've got some great footage. We can never use it because they're bound by whatever contracts. We cannot use it. Confidentiality. But in a nutshell, they came out with us that evening. And they all had an amazing night. Michaela Strachan had some very paranormal stuff happening. She was a little bit scared, I think. But the camera guy, was it the sound guy? One of the guys, sound guy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was lying on one of the beds in one of the rooms, the Royal Room in the Angel, and he got slapped so hard and probably something sat down next to him. He jumped out of the bed, ran across the room, ran out of the room, and refused to go back in there again afterwards.
It was really
totally brilliant. We've had guys on at the Angel see full-bodied apparitions. Yeah. We had one night. Incredible event where we had the same apparition seen twice in one night in the same room, wearing the same clothes, by two different witnesses. The first was by a guy who, in his admittance, was a total skeptic. Came along with his wife just because she wanted to come along. Admittedly, he'd had a few pints. He went upstairs into the Royal Room. The door was shut. He opened the door. There was what he only describes as a maid making the bed in a dark uniform, black and white. Middle-aged, I think it was, that one, middle-aged. He opened the door, she was making the bed, and looked very old-fashioned. He looked at her, shut the door, said, I'm sorry, walked out. His wife was waiting for him outside, and she saw him, and she said, what's wrong with you? And he said, there's someone in the room. She said, don't be silly, nobody can get into the room. It's only us here on the event. And he said, there's somebody making the bed, a maid making the bed. So I said, don't be silly. So he opened the door. Of course, nothing was there. Later on the evening,
it was half an hour later.
Half an hour later, another couple saw exactly the same thing. Yeah. But the weird thing was, exactly the same maid, but their witness account said she was a very young girl.
Yeah.
Wearing exactly the same thing, making the bed, doing the same thing. Yeah. But a lot younger. Have you seen American Horror Story, the first season, where the maid is in there and she's old and she's young at the same time?
Yeah. But that was weird because that happened about 3 years before American Horror Story.
Yeah, before American Horror Story. It's very strange. It's certainly, the Angel Hotel is an amazing venue, without a doubt. Whether it was because we put the hours in, I don't know. Because it's like anything, you only get out what you put in. If you're putting in the hours, you will get the results.
And you're establishing relationships with
Absolutely, with spirit on the other side. You've got the right equipment, you're in the right place at the right time, you've covered as many bases as you can.
It's almost like they know what you're doing. So it's like when you first go in, you show them a piece of equipment, we'd like you to make these lights light up with your energy for a yes. You know, by the time you've established and they're able to do that, you go in a couple of weeks' time, they're straight on the equipment, saying, "Oh, we're here."
It's easy, right? We're here now. We know how it's easy for us to do now.
We as soon as we open up, they're there. They were not sitting around thinking, "No, there's not going on tonight." It's straight there. There's straight to communication.
There's certainly a very, I wouldn't say an evil presence, certainly, or even a dark. There's a cantankerous old spirit there called Jack.
Right.
Confused sometimes with another spirit they've had there that answers phones and things like that and talks to some of the night porters and stuff like that. But we always called him Jack. We've had some amazing EVPs. We've been told to leave very harshly, on on the EVPs and stuff. And we're like, whoa, we actually heard that. Hold on, what's going on?
I think he thinks we're immoral.
He doesn't
he's quite
like us being there.
Actually,
Right.
in a bizarre way. I would say he's got and he thinks what we're doing is
morally wrong.
Evil.
Yeah,
and we should not be messing with it. And he's
but Jack has physically attacked some of our guests on events. I mean. We're always prepared for these things.
He pulled one girl's crucifix, literally
pulled it up on her neck and dropped it back
and
onto
she
her neck.
And she wouldn't go back in that room.
Yeah.
We
have had people run out screaming on our events, but we're always prepared for this. People see Paula, certainly you calm them down. But he's certainly a very strong character in The Angel. There's lots of stories of children running up and down corridors. We've heard them ourselves. We've got some of that on EVP. Ben, when he stayed there with his wife, his children would never stay there. They were terrified of staying at the Angel.
I think there's a lot, a lot in the forest. But then, that quantum thing, there's a lot everywhere.
I think the Forest of Dean, with all of its myth and legend and history, is a hotbed of paranormal activity. I've investigated all over the country. I've investigated in France, different places in the world, but I always come back to the Forest of Dean because it's a beautiful place. We love living in the Forest of Dean. We grew up in the Forest of Dean, Paul and myself. But there are so many spirits and stories and ghost stories with it. You can investigate the rest of your life and not cover it all.
Yeah.
It's just an amazing place to actually be a paranormal investigator, And we're proud to be a Forest Paranormal Investigations. And,
Just to go back to what you were talking about with Jack at the Angel there, and how he was a religious man. I find that very interesting, the fact that he's passed over and he still has this belief. Now that very much says to me that he hasn't passed over to what people would consider the afterlife, to heaven.
Well, I think that's instilled with fear. I did. I've done some investigations places, and you establish communication. I think some of them don't want to go over because they are so. It's instilled into their lives, especially back then. And Plymouth Brethren, as we were talking about earlier, like my granddad, that if you sin, you will go to hell. Then when they pass over, they're so afraid of going to hell, they get stuck here. They get rooted here because they think if they go to whatever light, wherever they are, the next transition to whatever world or dimension they're going to, it's going to be hell.
We actually had a girl, Gracie, and that was in the Feathers in
early days of FPI, wasn't
it? And she was probably about 10 years old. Come out on the equipment, and she was trapped. She actually helped. I'm trapped, and we were like, "What's trapping you?" And basically, it came out. She was scared of her father, who was obviously gone over as well, because we're talking they were in the previous century, and I think she was scared of bumping into her father. She was scared to go because she expected him to be there. So she was stuck in between. And that was our first experience with that, wasn't it? And we don't very often do spirit rescue, but we did with her. We literally.
You say that's incredibly tragic for her to be trapped.
Well,
there's some tragic stories.
There is a tragic story, and that's based around fear.
One tragic story that springs to mind was at St Breville's Castle, and although we touched on this earlier about Ouija boards, Martha, we do use Ouija boards. Like I said to you, we did have a Ouija board down in our. A big sort of 4-foot carved out Ouija board down in our spare bedroom, master bedroom there, until people who stayed up started freaking out about it. We're like, okay, so we didn't realise it. We use it. I think if you protect yourself properly and you use it responsibly, it's once again the same thing. A lot of people have horror stories about Ouija.
Do you think it's a frame of mind thing?
Yes, I think a lot of it is. I've used Ouija boards for the last 14 years. I've never really had a problem with them. I know people who have. I am, from a skeptic point of view, yes, I do know people push the glass. It's called ideomotor function. You can unconsciously push that glass to letters. You can do it. But that said, I have had several experiences with a Ouija board which has left me with no doubt that I was communicating with something somewhere on another dimension. And the one that springs to mind was St Breville's Castle. A woman called Martha, I forget her surname.
I can't think.
Martha Rose.
Yeah.
And I was called out Paula. I was doing something else, entertaining some guests somewhere else with some Xenocards or something.
Well, I had 2 guests call me in to start with because the glass was moving that quickly, but not making any sense. So I got on the glass and calmed them down and said, "Can you spell slowly what you're trying to say?" And it came out children. And then we got her name Martha.
You called me through it this time,
and then
didn't you?
I called Adam through because I'm like, he'd be very angry actually to miss this because this is quite incredible.
Really good.
Yeah.
So there was like 5 of us on the board then, and it was
over the next half hour. It was just getting light, maybe 5, 6 in the morning, and I can without doubt probably the next half an hour to 45 minutes we had such communication on that board that it couldn't have been anything else. It was incredible.
She knew directly,
and we were asking people to take your fingers off just for a moment. It was very deep.
She didn't stop.
The great thing was we got a message there with names and dates.
Yeah.
And I'm always, if you need to clarify and quantify these things down to names and dates. Write it down.
Yeah.
Turns out we did some experiment. We went on some ancestry sites afterwards because it was such good evidence.
Yeah.
And this lady, Martha Rose, said she had died in a certain year. I've got it all written down somewhere.
Yeah.
And it all correlated.
1929.
With 29. It all correlated with evidence that she gave us.
Yeah.
Through ancestry sites, and she the funny thing was she had grown up in Monmouth.
Yeah.
She wasn't buried in Monmouth. But she had lived in Monmouth for a period of time, and she was the only person called Martha Rose. She had the same amount of children that she had told us, who had also died in certain years. So that is the one piece of evidence with Ouija boards I can say.
She hadn't worked at the castle. She had nothing to do with the castle.
Nothing. She
but
was in
because
visitation.
we put that light up to the, and asked if there's any spirit.
Yeah.
What her problem was is she had 2 of her children with her.
Yeah.
And she was trying to find Richard.
The 3rd children, yeah.
Well, and I said, "Is that your husband?" And she was like, "No, baby." Well, no, it was 4-year-old boy, wasn't it? A 4-year-old boy.
Who
and I
starved.
was like, "Right, okay." Now Heath, as it turns out, this is why it took 3/4 of an hour. She was explained that he believed she killed the baby.
Right.
And she was trying to get a message to him, tell my son it was my mother that killed the baby, not me.
Yeah.
Because Richard was too scared to go to his mum because of what he thought.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we literally got hold of Richard then, through our spirit guides, can you get Richard here? He needs to communicate with his mum and realise there needs to be some healing going on. And all the time it was through the board. And she literally went, and I said, can you see him? And she went, yes. And then she spelt out connected. And then I was like, well, this is just incredible because they are literally back together.
It was very strange. You could feel the energy change in that room. It was a corridor.
From
it was palpable.
Yeah.
It was just such a feeling of elation and joy. There wasn't a dry eye in anyone who was doing that.
All of us on the board was in tears.
It was. We knew what had happened. You could feel it crackling in the air.
He actually went to his mother.
Yeah.
It was a reunion. It was a beautiful moment.
And we was part of that, which is actually
amazing. Although, like I say, we do not do spirit rescue because we like to leave things exactly as they were when we turned up.
Yeah.
Sometimes certain situations come along where you have to do something.
Yeah.
It's like anything in life, you can't pass them by.
No. And as a healer,
you can't pass that suffering,
Kind of like sort of walking by and seeing somebody stuck in a car.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. What you're going to do, walk straight by. Sometimes you...
Yeah. And she wrote at the end, didn't she? As she left, she just put "ever so loved."
Ever loved, ever so loved.
Ever so loved.
Ever so loved.
She said.
And that was it. She went.
Yeah.
And you knew they were gone. It was weird. It was like we looked at each other.
She had her children back.
All looked up with tears in our eyes, and it was like,
wow.
It's gone. It's done.
And we then realised that the guest, the lady next to me, who I didn't know her profession, she is a social worker, for children in the local schools.
Yeah.
I did not know that. So she was like, perhaps the mother saw that in her.
Energy,
helped me with my children.
For all my hard, logical, sceptical, I have to have X and Y's and dates and things like that. Yeah. Even I was moved by that. It was an incredible moment.
Yeah.
And like I say, maybe in 14 years, that's probably the only time I've really been convinced with the Ouija board. It's a great form of communication in the right circumstances and used correctly.
Yeah.
But a lot of people forget that the little girl at the start of The Exorcist was messing around with the Ouija board,
That's right,
and we all know what happened then.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we always cleanse it as well, so it's frankincense afterwards, and know.
I think that's one of the things that always put me off the Ouija board as well, because my sister's actually called Reagan. So yeah,
could she projectile vomit and spin her head round as well, and go backwards down the stairs?
When she was younger, perhaps. I'm not sure if she does that sort of thing anymore.
Oh,
but so that was another reason for me. I mean, it's not something I wouldn't say I wasn't open to.
Yeah,
but it's not something that I've done.
No,
as yet.
I think you have to, like I say, you have to put up as many forms of communication you can.
Yeah.
You have to have it correlating with technical equipment. Sometimes we use mediums. Sometimes we just utilise the guests who are in our group because they're just as good.
Yeah.
And we've had some great hits with that. And it's when you get maybe 2 or 3 pieces of evidence coming together at the same time with several witnesses.
Yeah.
That's when you can start to say, maybe this isn't normal. Maybe this is that slightly grey area that is not quite normal. It's paranormal. It's beyond normal, which is what paranormal means.
Yeah.
When you can strip away everything, that you can explain it away by this, this, and this, but you're still left with that tiny, and it is a tiny, very small part of it.
Yeah.
Grey area that you cannot explain. Only then can you say that is paranormal. And even then it's subject to a person's belief.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is why it comes down to being a personal thing anyway.
I guess everything is, ultimately personally subjective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to go back again to Martha and what you were discussing there. Do you think that they experience time in the way we do, as a kind of linear thing, or do you think it comes in?
Well, this is interesting.
This is interesting.
Yeah, you see what I mean.
Think of Dogmail's Abbey.
Well, no, exactly. But with quantum,
one thing that
there is no such thing as time.
Yeah,
so,
this is one thing that when you have spirits of children, if
Which I've
time
no doubt
elapsed the same for them, then surely they would actually grow up. Perhaps not. They might not appear physically grown up, but surely mentally they would experience things as we do, and therefore mentally they would kind of grow up.
Yeah.
So I'm always really interested to hear that when you get spirits of young children, it does lend me to believe that they don't experience time.
No, I don't think they
linear
do.
thing like we do.
We talked. We communicated with what we thought was a spirit at Dogmail's Abbey in Pembrokeshire.
Yeah.
And we were getting some interesting stuff on the K2 in response to yeses and nos. Some really big belts on the EMF. And you asked the question, didn't you? You said, and it's an old ruin. It's an old abbey.
Yeah.
Supposedly very haunted by monks, Cistercian monks, I think it was. It's got an old crypt there. We were there about 2 a.m, and you asked the question: is the castle a ruin? Is the abbey a ruin for
where
you?
you are?
Yeah. And they said no.
And I said, well, is it intact then? And they were like, yes. And I thought, oh my God. I said, so are you in 2013? And it was like, no. You know what I mean? And I was like, no, this is no.
They're busy going about their own daily life in whatever,
which is quantum,
what they were used to when they passed, I guess. I don't know. Time, like I said, time is
irrelevant.
Is a human thing, a human construct that tells us between point A and point B.
Yeah.
It gives us some sort of quantification of that.
Yeah.
That's all it is. But I think
continual now.
I think on the other side you can throw all these science rules out the window. I think a lot of it.
Kind of like
there's a different sort of science. Yeah, absolutely.
Themselves.
I think maybe.
Which explains deja vu. I mean, that's what I mean. We have not got the answers because there's just so many questions.
That's the beautiful thing about the paranormal. We don't have the answers. You won't know until you go. That's what people say.
I don't think we ever will. I think even to a certain degree, when you do go, I know there is a school of belief that suddenly the knowledge of the universe will open up to you, but I don't quite follow that personally. I think maybe.
Have you heard about
you're allowed to know what you're supposed to know? Yeah.
Or it would blow our tiny minds. I guess.
That's what I was going to think. That's how I was going. In my mind, we only use 10% of it. I do think the other 90% know exactly what's going on, and I think there's part of us that's ahead of our own selves. Which is why you get all of the deja vu sensation.
And also, with quantum as well, there's the theory that with time especially, you've got this path. Whether you believe in destiny or whatever, we have this path, and we are here now.
Yeah.
Maybe in one set of circumstances we're here and we live till we're 93, whatever. Maybe in another path, in some dimension, parallel universe, or whatever it is, we die in a car accident.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, that where we're dying as a car accident gets blurred with this path where we live till we're 94.
Yeah.
And maybe we appear sometime after the car accident, just as we were living, to the people who we know and love, and they see us in that realm. They see another fragment of that dimension.
Yeah.
That could be seen as a ghost. Perhaps not. Perhaps it's down to science, quantum science, or something like that. We can be in two places at once with two different destinies.
Yeah.
Perhaps that explains. Yeah, multiple. Perhaps that explains certain things we see in the paranormal.
Yeah.
Certain, of course. I mean, you throw it out the window when certain ghosts or spirits are interactive.
Yeah.
Some come up as a warning. Quite often, excuse me. Quite often you'll hear of when a soldier is at war, and that you get the death haunting where a soldier is seen by his mother.
Yeah.
And he's on the other side of the world fighting a war, and he dies in a battle somewhere, and he's shown to his mother. So there are many different types of hauntings, ghosts, or whatever you want to call it. But I think certainly a certain, like the recording, the stone tape theory, a lot of them can be explained away.
Yeah.
By science, perhaps not the science that we understand as such at the moment.
Yeah.
But as the more we develop, the more we investigate, we're starting to learn more about it.
The more open we get as well. Like, so if you start reading like quantum and energy, and you are having your paradigm shifts. So then within your focus of your own universe, you might start believing in these things, and then you start receiving these things, and then it goes on. So that by the time you've within your lifetime, you can go from complete skeptic to complete believer, which is your journey, which is absolutely fine. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people start believing towards the end anyway, don't they?
I think so. I think you'd have to be pretty hard not to
Absolutely. We all want to know. I mean, we all want to think that, there's not some horrible impenetrable darkness and that's it. That's the end of it all.
Yeah.
We all like to think that there is something beyond. We'd all like to know that we carry this energy, this love with us onto wherever we go. We don't know. Certainly, like I say, that energy has to go somewhere.
Yeah. It
really must go somewhere. And there's too many stories out there. There's too many things going on. We've experienced too much to maybe realise that it's not. It doesn't end there. No. There is life after life.
But you've not really experienced anything that's kind of put you off or scared you then?
Some things have sort of like shocked, scared me because I wasn't expecting them. Like the stamping down the stairs when I was sitting on the stairs on St. Breville's Castle, the
with the hanging room above us.
Nobody else was in there except FBI.
4 of us setting up equipment, really.
And they were down below on the landing, so I was sitting on about the 5th stair up, and I was like a 20-stone man coming down those stairs. Yeah. I literally left the
in hobnail boots.
Flew.
Literally, we all heard it. It was as if some unseen body literally stamped down those stairs from the hanging room, the guard room, down to on the very old staircase.
Yeah,
I've never seen one move so fast. Yeah,
and that was scary. And if I'd been on my own, that would have been terrifying.
Yeah,
and I certainly wasn't going to grab a torch and go running up there. That was just like for Adam.
I think I find now, after so much experience with it, I tend. It sounds crazy, but I tend to put myself in situations where I hope to be scared.
Yeah.
I try to scare myself. I try to find myself, and you go to some of the most atrocious places where terrible things have happened. Yeah. I've investigated asylums, horrible places where the energy, oubliettes, where people are thrown down and where they've been left to rot and die.
Yeah.
Where people have been executed.
Oh, a lot of suffering.
And I tend, the more I'm doing it now, quite often before we do anything, when it get dark, I say, right, babe, I'm just going off on my own. Yeah. And I'll go and sit on my own there.
Which is really great. When there's only 2 of you in the team, that leaves me on my own too.
She's outside in the van.
With this imagination.
But I found that I like it now. I'm getting to the stage now where I actually really do. I think some of us like to be scared.
Do you think that's your dark side?
Definitely, without a doubt,
enjoy being scared.
Absolutely. I like putting myself in that situation. It gives me a rush.
To be in a situation where...
A huge adrenaline rush. Yeah. We're going to take you to the castle. I think you've got to come to the castle on Halloween with us. we'll drag you on.
Have you just been touched?
Yeah. Have
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. In fact, just before, about 2 minutes ago, I thought there's something here with us in this room.
Yeah, because I've noticed that flick around.
By this fire, yeah. The candles have been going crazy for the last sort of 5 minutes as well.
Yeah, that could be the heat from the fire as well.
Pinched my elbow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, where we live here, it's 400 years old.
We've been talking about this before now in the chandelier.
Stuff. The lights have just started flickering and stuff.
Free will. You know, everybody's got free will within the whole universe. If you decide you don't want to move on or whatever. And I was explaining this to somebody, and the chandeliers literally went down and came back to life and like started going crazy.
Do you think maybe it's possible because we're chatting about this now? That maybe we are putting on
without
that
doubt.
beacon.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Without doubt.
Because they just want to say hello. So just like, I am here, you know, hello.
But it wasn't a nasty thing. No. It was just a little...
There's nothing nasty here, definitely not. I mean, we wouldn't live here. It's a great energy in the house we live in, but at the end of the day, you've got to realise it's 400 years old.
Yeah.
It's called the Old Carpenter and Wheel Art Shop.
We have seen things.
We've seen stuff down here. The dog experiences things. He starts barking at something that's not there. We see things out the corner of our eye in the kitchen, as if a shadow's walked by. You've seen something that looked like my dad in here.
The courtyard, even.
You were slapped down in that room.
I was actually had my legs slapped.
I was up in the bedroom and I heard it just like that, and I heard her scream, and I went, "What's up?" And you literally got slapped on the legs.
Can you do that again, please? And I was thinking, but don't, because oh my God, I've got to live here.
But yeah, you do. We tend not to do stuff in our own home because it's your home. You know,
you don't.
You'll go out, and we'll go out to some incredible places just up the road. You know? Yeah. But going back to being scared, yeah, of course you can't help but be scared. But I'm starting to get to the stage now where I really enjoy it. Yeah. I really like being scared, and I will put myself in as many situations as I can that will nearly make me run. I've never run yet. I've never run screaming yet. And Yvette Fielding, damn you, because you're just an idiot. You do it every time. I will not run away from it. We enjoy it. We love what we do.
That's brilliant.
And long may it rain, you know, we'll do it forever and a day. We will never stop being
paranormal
investigators.
It's part of what we've always been.
And when we
were
go
on
to
two
the other
separate
side,
paths, came together and met, and that was it.
Yeah, maybe then
we're on the same path of understanding, really.
Yeah, we'll get there somewhere along the way. Yeah. Even if it takes death to get there, I don't know. We'll get there.
Well, guys, I'm running out of tape here.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap this up. Just want to say thank you very much, both. You have a lovely home. Thank you. Great talking to you both. Your passion, your enthusiasm really shows through. Yeah. That's really great. So, if you'd like to tell us where people can find you,
you can find us online, www.forestparanormal.co.uk. You can find us. We've got a Facebook group which I think is Forest Paranormal. You can find Paula's books on paulaheath.co.uk. We do put our events up mostly on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Come along onto one of our events. We're not running as many events these days because we're doing a lot of personal investigations. But you know, if you see us around, by all means, stop and chat about the paranormal.
And if you've got any stories that you want to share with us and any locations in the Forest of Dean,
you're up for that.
Definitely. Our email address is info@forestparanormal.co.uk. If you want to drop us a line about anywhere you'd like us to investigate, then
I mean, we don't do people's homes.
No.
But I mean, anywhere else,
we're definitely. Yeah, I think if we put it open, yes, we'll investigate your home.
We'd be inundated.
We wouldn't have any time for anything else.
Yeah.
And, you know, you need time to do other stuff in life as well. But
yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
It's a massive part of our life. We enjoy the paranormal. If anyone's got any ideas of maybe a venue in the forest or a pub, maybe, preferably.
Yeah,
then,
pubs
are always good. Lots of spirits in pubs.
Lots of spirits in pubs, of course.
And
you have your event on Halloween
night.
Rebels Castle, I believe.
I think there's still a few tickets left. There's not many.
Yeah.
You have to get in quick.
You have to get in very quickly. Get in touch with us or the castle. Talk to Stuart Chaplin. There are a few spaces left, not many, but certainly if you want to come along.
What time does that kick off?
It's going to kick off about 6 or 7 o'clock, and it's going to be all night. We've got the run of the entire castle.
Yeah,
it's going to be a great night. It's on Halloween, supposedly when the veil, as we hate to say it, is at its thinnest.
Yeah.
But certainly in our experience, you won't be disappointed.
Excellent stuff. Well, once again, thank you very much, folks. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, mate. Brilliant. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Binks.
A good time in Binksy.